Kumar, and today we're going to bring to you an IPO that has created so much buzz in the market. We have the top management of Nazara Technologies joining us on Money9. We have Mr. Nitish Mittal Sen, Joint Managing Director of Nazara Technologies joining us. Thank you, Nitish. We also have Mr. Manish Agarwal, CEO of Nazara Tech, joining us on Money9 on IPO Rush. Thank you, both of you gentlemen. I want to begin by asking Nitish, tell us what is the reason behind the timing of this IPO? You're the first full-fledged game developing company to be listed on the stock markets. Why the IPO now?
Sure. I think, Krishna, thank you for having us here. And I think I strongly believe, and my team strongly believes, that this decade that we are in is the decade of gaming for India. And because of the macro factors, millions of mobile phone users having Android smartphones, India has become the cheapest in data. Speeds have become super fast. I think we have the perfect storm for the gaming industry to become very large in the coming years. And we strongly believe that the gaming industry, in terms of revenues, will be larger than all other entertainment industries put together in India. So I think that's the kind of opportunity we're looking at. Nazara has been, in this business for the 2 decades and built a strong platform, a strong business, diversified business, and we believe we are well poised to take advantage of this, large opportunity in front of us. And I think, therefore, we thought this was the right time to come to the public markets, establish ourselves, our reputation, and grow along with a lot of shareholders, create value for the
All right.
shareholders going forward.
Before going further, I want to quickly ask you, what were those the factors that attracted the big bull, Mr. Rakesh Jhunjhunwala, towards Nazara Technologies? What were the things that drew him to Nazara Tech?
So Rakesh, he invested 3 years back in the company. And I think what he really liked about Nazara was that although we were a new media tech startup, we were not guzzling cash or not burning cash. We were, profitable. We had been extremely capital efficient. Those are the things he liked, besides obviously the overall trend in the gaming industry, which he could see. And I think this is the key reason he invested in Nazara.
All right, Nitish, let me now take this across to Manish. Manish, talk to us. Tell us about Nazara Technologies as a company, the verticals it has, in terms of how much focus is on gaming and how much is on esports, now and going forward.
Hi, Krishna. Thanks. Krishna, if you look at the focus is on a consumer audience. We have two consumer sets. One is about 14 to 25-year-old and other is your 2 to 6-year-old from a learning point of view. Now, 14 to 25, as we all know, with the growth in internet infrastructure in this country, 14 to 25 gaming has become their primary entertainment. And esports and gaming come together. So when they play a game, they compete against each other and they watch others playing those video games. So to us, gaming and esports are one set of symbiotic segment for us to really look at. And we are very, very excited about the opportunity and the growth which lies for this mid-core, hardcore gamers in this 14-25-year age in India.
All right. I want to ask you this, Manish. There has been a spike during the pandemic, in terms of gaming, an explosion of sorts for gaming per se, with more and more adoption, more and more people getting into gaming. Is that kind of growth that was witnessed, the kind of top line growth that Nazara Tech witnessed in 2020, is that kind of growth sustainable going forward?
So, Krishna, I think this question has been most oft in my media interactions and in my roadshows. I just want to kind of tell you that at Nazara, our esports business has grown 8x in 3 years. And this growth trend is a very secular trend, which we identified, spotted, and went after it since 2017-18. Similarly, gamified learning has really grown 5x in last 24 months, and the growth momentum was achieved and attained even before COVID. To me, there are two parts of this. One is people watching other people playing video games, people playing competitive multiplayer video games, and learning and gaming coming together are the trends which are very global trends, very large secular trends. And the events like COVID have further accelerated and solidified the habits. But the trends were in making 4 years back and will continue to really be in play for next decade of this golden gaming decade, as we call it.
if I can quickly bring this back to Nitish. Nitish, if you can throw some light on, the kind of trends witnessed. It's been more than almost a year of the pandemic. In fact, a little more than the year of the pandemic and the lockdowns began. Tell us about the evolution of the gaming industry in this time, and what is the strategy for future growth from here on, and generating cash per se.
Sure. So I think the pandemic has brought in a lot more new gamers, people who are sitting on the fence, who are not really experienced gaming. Given that they have had time, they've been sitting at home, and you can only watch Netflix up to a point of time, right? You want to do more interactive stuff. Gaming was allowing people to have social interaction with their friends and family who they couldn't meet. So I think a lot more people have jumped into the gaming landscape, and that is great because you will see the trend only continue once people have had their first experiences. They will come back again and again. So I think that is really from the pandemic perspective. As far as the overall gaming trend is considered in India, I think we are honestly still very much in its infancy, right? There's so much more. There's a billion users with smartphones today potentially, and like I said earlier, with the data speeds, etc., this industry is here to grow. In terms of monetization, it's extremely small today compared to what it will be in the next 5-10 years. And I think there's a lot of opportunities. So Nazara really is well poised to take advantage of these opportunities. We have to really do something extremely foolish to miss the bus here.
Manish, Nitish making it as clear as possible. The bus is very much here to be taken, and you are on that bus. The IPO has concluded. I want to understand, what is the growth strategy going forward in terms of numbers? If you can give us some idea of what Nazara Tech is looking to do with its top line, bottom line, sales and revenue targets going forward.
So, Krishna, if you look at these segments which we are operating, they are segments which are very large, and like gamified early learning, we have an app called Kidopia which is operating in US. We may be 4-5% market share. It's a 25 million kids market, and our next competitor is 8 times of us, and we have been gaining share. And we have been very profitable in terms of unit economics and at EBITDA level. So our ability to kind of gain share and grow very fast, as I mentioned, is demonstrated. And we believe that the market size and opportunity which lies ahead, we will be able to continue our growth momentum. Likewise, esports, we are 80% market share in this country, and we are kind of really defining the market and innovating continuously. As the sports entertainment piece, which is what I believe after cricket, esports will be the second largest watched sports entertainment. Today, that's a 10,000 crore market growing very fast, and we would be taking a sizable chunk of that in years to come. So, from our perspective, a number goal is a kind of a fallacy, but it's the segments and the underlying levers and drivers of that growth is what we are chasing.
All right, Nitish, I want to understand, gaming has been this thing about gaming nuts and gaming junkies traditionally. Now, today in 2021, who are the biggest consumers of games, in India? Are people now willing to pay for online games?
So I think in terms of demographics, the demographics is far more stretched than what we usually perceive it about being college students or school students, right? I think kids as young as 2 years old are gaming. We can see it in our own apps like Kidopia, and much more elderly folks. My own grandmom at 87 is gaming. So I think that it's pretty diverse across the country, and which is fantastic. You have a large user base to address. I think in terms of monetization, still early days. Consumers are getting used to monetizing. Some games are starting to succeed on monetization. So you're early days in terms of monetization, and a lot of upside in front of us.
If I were to quickly ask you again, are you planning to acquire stakes in other companies, acquire other, gaming setups, to add to your own armory?
Or if you see in the last few years, we have been pretty active in the inorganic route. We have acquired multiple companies, and there's no reason why we will not continue on that path.
And Manish, if I can quickly come to you, how do these things add to the business per se? This acquisition of other companies and other startups and other content developers.
What we do is that we get an opportunity to work with friends. And that's why we call it Friends of Nazara Network. And to us, it's the gaming is all about individual passion, creativity, drive to build, and hunger to build a legacy. And when we all friends come together, the magic happens. That's the magic we have seen happening in the last 3-4 years. We'd like to augment, as Nitish said, this Friends of Nazara network, get more like-minded people to be added. And as I always say, we have a small dream to be the top 5 global gaming company. Chinni Chinni Asha.
Choti Si Asha, as the famous A.R. Rahman song goes, or Chinna Chinna Asai, as it was originally called in Tamil. These are the small dreams and desires, so to speak, of Nazara Technologies. I'm going to thank Mr. Nitish Mittersen, Joint MD of Nazara Technologies, and Mr. Manish Agarwal, CEO of Nazara Technologies, for taking time out to be with us here on Money9. And with that, it's a wrap here on IPO Rush. This is Krishna Kumar saying Alvida.